Welcome to the weekly Outside Views report on the politics in Africa and Arabia. And today I want to talk about Syria. It is the next stage of a slow return to the diplomatic stage for him. After a decade of extensive isolation, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has again taken part in a major international meeting in Saudi Arabia. At the Arab League summit in Jeddah on Friday, Assad spoke of a historic opportunity for the entire region. In the civil war country Syria, meanwhile, hundreds protested against the normalization. The Syrian opposition spoke of treason and a certificate of innocence for a murderer. And surprisingly, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also took part in the summit. Assad was warmly welcomed by the hosts in Jeddah. Saudi Arabia's crown prince and de facto ruler Mohammed bin Salman greeted him with a hug and a brotherly kiss. Assad walked the purple carpet smiling. Standing in the front row of the group photo, he chatted with Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani. He also met with Tunisia's President Kais Saied. Assad was isolated for a long time after his government cracked down on the population against protests in 2011 and in the civil war that followed. Around 14 million people were displaced during the war and more than 350,000 lost their lives. The ruler is accused of war crimes such as the use of poison gas and barrel bombs, torture, and extrajudicial killings. According to the human rights organization SNHR, 15,000 civilians died from torture alone, and 150,000 were arbitrarily arrested. During the civil war, most of the region's neighbors supported the opposition. In the meantime, however, the view has prevailed that Assad should remain the dominant force in the country. His troops, along with allies, control about two-thirds of Syria. Several countries hope to reduce Iran's influence in Syria or to clarify questions about the return of Syrian refugees and drug smuggling. It is not yet known whether Syria should resume its natural role in the region according to the final declaration of the summit. This also dealt with conflicts in Sudan, Yemen, and between Israelis and Palestinians. Hardliners in Tehran are presenting themselves as winners there. The editor-in-chief of the Kihan newspaper, Hosseini Shariat Madari, appointed by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, hailed Syria's readmission to the League as another historic victory for Assad and joked that it was the Arab League that had returned to Assad and not the other way round. When Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi recently visited Damascus, there was hardly any Arab criticism of the visit. Syrian opposition figure George Sabra said the opposition felt betrayed. Assad and his allies Russia and Iran still kill daily. That's what Sabra told the German press agency. It's like they are proving this killer a certificate of innocence while the whole world is still demanding him for the crimes committed against the Syrians, and they want to bring him to justice. The Syrian activist Wafa Mustafa, who lives in Berlin, spoke of betrayal of all Syrians who were victims of the Assad regime's atrocities. The normalization is a message that war criminals will not face consequences for their actions. That's what she wrote in a guest article for the British Guardian. In northwest Syria, hundreds protested against Assad's participation in the summit. And surprisingly, the Ukrainian President Zelensky also made the trip to the summit at the same time as Assad, who counts Russia as one of his most important allies. He accused some of the 22 League members of a lack of support for his country in Russia's war of aggression, though. Unfortunately, some in the world and here in your circle turn a blind eye, Zelensky said. After meeting Crown Prince Mohammed, he again offered to mediate, but then only spoke of the Ukrainian-Russian crisis. Saudi Arabia has good relations with Moscow. But Assad still spoke of a historic opportunity for the region. I hope the summit will mark the beginning of a new phase in Arab solidarity. And Qatar's Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, whose country remains opposed to normalization with Syria like Kuwait and Morocco, departed ahead of Assad's speech. Talks with the Assad government, against which the EU and USF have imposed comprehensive sanctions, are taboo for Western countries such as the USA and Germany. At the end of November, Assad could also meet Western heads of state and government again. He has been invited to the COP28 World Climate Conference in Dubai, which US President Joe Biden and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, for example, could also attend. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.